Hello, my name is Lacy Hale and I live in Whitesburg, Kentucky, and I'm a full-time artist. I do easel painting, murals, and block printing like I'm going to do today. So with block printing, it's a really easy way to make an image and an image that you can print over and over again. It's almost like making a stamp. So I like to use soft cut linoleum. It's actually made out of clay. And it's really malleable and easy to carve, and that's why I like to use this stuff. This is a carving tool. It has, if you open the back, it has a lot of different blades in it, different sizes, and it's really easy to use. And then we have our inking and carving plate here. It has two purposes. You can see it's a little dirty where I've used it over and over and over again. Some inks don't come off as easy as others, but this is good to put your block on and carve because these are sharp and you want to always carve away from yourself and toward the end of this so it hooks on the table. And then we have our brayer, which will roll the ink on when we get done carving our piece. And then this is called a baron, and it's for pressing the paper down on our piece whenever we carve it and actually pulling a print. So today I'm going to do something really simple for this demo. I have been learning more and more that it is good to rest and be kind to yourself, and so I'm going to do a print today about that. So normally, I mean, you can draw directly onto your block if you want to, but normally if there's text that you're going to put on something, you want it to go onto paper because whatever you put on the, basically you're making a mirror image so you can print it, right? So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to do just be kind to yourself is what I'm going to write. And so I'm drawing it on this paper first. And it's just going to be really simple, nothing big. So I'm just going to draw it out, and you can use a 2B pencil. The softer the pencil, the easier it will transfer onto the block. So I'm making the letters a little thick. You don't want to be too small, especially when you're starting out. You want to have a lot of space to carve in between. And I'm just going to make something cute. I'm going to say be kind to yourself, and I'm going to make some flowers. That'll be easy to carve as well. And a little bee here. Why not? A little cute bee with some wings. And maybe another flower here. So the reason I like doing block printing is because it is a really great way to get almost anybody making artwork that is pretty cool. The very nature of this type of artwork lends itself to kind of being a little messy, a little beginner friendly, because everything, basically every workshop I've ever taught, people are really happy with the way their project turns out, because it's just such a cool way to make artwork. And there's something that's called chatter whenever you start to carve that lends itself to little imperfections, which actually make the pieces even better, I think. So I've drawn it out on the paper, and now this, like I said, is really soft and it's really malleable, and so it will easily accept the pencil marks. And so I've measured this piece of paper to fit on my block, and now I'm going to take the back of my carving tool and I'm going to kind of burnish the image onto my block here. You want to rub over, you can kind of see where your image is. You can use like carbon paper for this, but you don't have to buy anything really special or out of the way. Once you have the initial pieces that you use to carve and stuff, you don't have to have anything special. I just like doing it like this. It feels a little more organic. And so you can see how it came off the paper and onto that, to the block. And so anything that you can't really see, you're gonna kind of fill in or make it a little bit darker. And then once you get it laid out the way you want, you're gonna start carving. So I'm gonna lay it on my bench hook here and you would carve away from yourself, but just so that it'll be easier to see, probably I'm gonna do it like this. And I'm gonna use a little bit smaller tool. These are so handy because they keep all the tools in the back of the piece itself, so you're not always running around and looking for the different carving tool sizes. So this, you have to open up the top part here, and then you can slide these right down into it and then screw it back on. That feels like it's gonna work, yeah. This might actually be a piece to another one. It's not wanting to fit exactly right, but we're gonna go with it. So, these are made to sit in your hand like this. See how it's rounded at the back? So we're gonna hold it like that. Some people kind of hold it like a pencil. I wouldn't recommend that because you have more control if you hold it like this. So then, once you get the right tool in here, you're gonna start carving. And so you wanna hold it like this and kind of carve at an angle, and you'll see how easy this kind of carves. And so another reason I like doing this, this medium is because it is kind of meditative. You can really get into the groove. Pardon the pun here, I'm making some grooves, but you can really kind of get into it and kind of lose yourself in carving pieces out. And I love to put on like some good music, and then whenever I'm teaching classes, like you know, you can talk amongst yourselves or whatever, but a lot of the time it goes kind of quiet whenever people are starting to carve, because it does, if they're really into the piece, it gets pretty, like I said, meditative, and you can kind of lose yourself. And I think that's one thing about making art and making this kind of art, is that you can kind of lose yourself and go inward and, you know, just think and take time to kind of meditate on things. And so this, like I said, I'm doing something really simple. And you can do anything. I mean, these come in sheets. I mean, you can get them huge pieces. I've done some posters before for other folks, and I've done poster-sized pieces for myself. You can actually use these. You know, you're basically making a stamp whenever you're carving these. And you'll notice I'm not carving toward myself. I'm moving the block, and that way I'm not carving toward myself. I'm moving the block as I need to carve. Anything round, I'm trying to go around the curve of it and make that circle. But normally, like I said, I would be carving on this and carving toward this part. It hooks onto the table, and that kind of keeps you a little bit safer. I have cut myself doing this a couple times, but it was well worth it. So we're gonna keep carving these out, and you'll also notice that the text, like I said, it's a mirror image of I don't know if I pointed that out earlier. It's a mirror image of what I drew. So that way you want it to, if you do it like this and you can transfer it from the paper onto the block, you don't have to worry about writing text backwards. It just makes it a lot easier. But you don't have to only print on paper with these. You can get the water-based or oil-based ink and print on paper, but you can also print on fabric. And so I've done several pieces that, I can make my own shirts, print patches. It's a really cool medium. So here we go around the S, and so I think I've got all my text done. And so now I'm going to do some of the flowers. And you could also do this the other way around. You could carve the whole back out and leave the text raised up. Again, think of it like making kind of like a stamp. And so whatever is left raised up is going to be what will print, right? The ink will hit those parts, and whatever is like laying lower, it's going to miss those parts. And you'll see really what I'm talking about whenever I go to print this. So I might just do this one flower and then the bee, just so y'all can see what I mean. And this is, I've taken, 10 minutes or something to work on this, if even. So you can take as much time, you can be as quick as you want. It's a great way to make cards. I do a lot of greeting cards, get well cards, thank you cards. It's a great way to make your own little business too. People really like the look of block printed things, I've found, and so it's just such a cool medium. It actually originated in China thousands of years ago. In India, they still print fabric with block prints, with blocks that are carved. And a lot of the time it's wood. You can do wood, linoleum. There's a great way to teach really young kids how to do this with foam, and you're not cutting anything, you're actually making, like you're embossing the foam itself. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of make a similar process for every age group and different things that you want to do. Okay, so I've got as much of that carved out as I think I'm going to do. And now we're going to kind of get all these little, it's also very fun to clean up after this because there are pieces of the block that you carved, they just go everywhere. But you want to make sure that your inking surface is clean. And I'm going to lay this over here, put this up so we don't lose it. So now, the way normally that you print with block printing is that you roll out your ink and you put the paper on the block itself. It just gets a better print most of the time that way. You can do it the other way, more like a stamp, but this way I'll show you why, kind of with the tools that we're using, why it will make a better print overall. I'm going to use hot pink. Why not? So you can get ink of all different colors. And so I put my ink on the inking plate, and I've got my brayer here. And so this is to roll the ink out and roll it onto the block. And so I'm going to actually put a little bit more out here. I don't know if you can hear that sound, but that's when you know you've got enough ink on your inking plate. And I love these things because you have two uses, right? It's like an inking plate and the bench hook that you carve on. So these are really great little pieces to have around. So I've got enough ink on there. I've inked my full brayer, and now I'm going to roll the ink across my block. Now these blocks are initially, this was a new block, so they get a little, because they're clay, they have some dust on them. so it's not taking the ink as well as it would if it was cleaned. I kind of washed it off, or wiped it off, but I didn't wash it. So we're gonna put some more ink out. And I'm inking the full piece. Now you can also do, like if I put pink up top and blue at the bottom, you could do it, it's called a rainbow roll when you add more than one ink color to the same block. There's a thing called the jigsaw method where you cut pieces out and you can do them in different ink. There's a lot of different things you can do with this art form, and I really love it. So I've got it all inked up, and now I'm going to lay my paper on top. And now we have this, this thing's called a baron, and you can get them in wood, you can use a wooden spoon, you can use all kinds of different things, your fingers, but this has a soft pad right here, and so it makes it easy to press down, and it doesn't like crease the paper or harm the paper because of the soft pad here. And you want to make sure you get every corner and edge, and kind of go around in some circles and press down relatively hard, not super hard. So hopefully these lights haven't kind of dried the ink up very much, but yeah, here we go. So, and there's my print I just made. So I could take this and, like I said, if I got some fabric ink, I could make, put it on shirts. I could do it tote bags. I could send this to friends in need of, remembering, being reminded of being kind to yourself. Yeah, this is one of my favorite workshops to teach. It's one of my favorite art forms to make. And it's relatively easy once you have all the pieces. And I've taught it to 4-year-olds up to 84-year-olds. And like I said, everybody is usually very happy with the product, so be kind to yourself. Art helps my mental health in a really big way. It has always been a way for me to kind of process emotions and things that have happened in my life. In 2022, when we had the flood in Eastern Kentucky, it really helped me get through that and process what had happened there, because I lost my studio in the flood and a lot of the work that I'd done, and it took me a little while to, a couple weeks to actually do any artwork, but once I started to, it just helped me process that event so much, because, I had all these feelings that I didn't know how to say, or I didn't know that I could say, and I got this idea to do a piece. Right before the flood happened, I'd seen this blue heron fly up out of the river near where I live. And it was just so beautiful, and I immediately went home and I did a sketch of it in my sketchbook. And I was like, I know that someday I'm going to do a piece about this. And then the flood happened, and I applied for a residency because I just needed to get away, and I knew I needed to make art to help kind of get through that. And on the way to the residency, it was in Central Kentucky, I had this idea of putting a layer on the canvas of just the pile of debris that we had thrown out just from my studio and my husband's record store, and then painting that out by painting that blue heron over top of it, and in this really joyful, hopeful way, because I started seeing, so many people helped us through that event. And I just wanted to, I had this hope kind of brewing inside me, and I knew we would get past it. And so to create a piece of artwork that was about that event, but also about moving past that event and leaving it kind of in the past and moving forward, it was really helpful for me. So, if I feel down, if I feel happy. I make artwork, and I think that's one of the key things about creating. And it doesn't have to be always visual, but I think to really get in touch with yourself and your emotions and your feelings and what you have going on in your life that you can't really express vocally, right? You can use artwork to kind of center yourself and really be there with yourself and give yourself that time and space to get out of your head, kind of, and make something with your hands. And I think that is one of the most beneficial things that you can do, just in general, is create, take time away, take time for yourself, be kind to yourself, and make something with your hands. So creating artwork makes me feel closer to my community, in that I work with the community a lot in the art that I make. I think that, so one of the things that I love to do with my art is uplift the community in general. And so a big portion of my art practice is working in communities, creating public murals where people can join in and can paint without feeling, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't do that. I'm afraid to do that. I'm not an artist. And everybody is, they have some artistic ability, and they have that within them to create and be creative. And so a lot of the time whenever I am going in a community and I'm creating this public piece of artwork, I lay out these murals in a way that anybody can paint, no matter how they feel about it. They don't have to be confident in their artistic abilities. They can just jump in. And so I think that's really important, just because you don't want to exclude anybody. You want to make sure that everybody feels like they can help and they can create and they can participate. I also tend to work a lot with this process. It's called polytab, and so it's something that I can take indoors, and we can work on tables, and it's like this material that you can paint on and then put up like wallpaper. And so that, I think, is a really inclusive way to create murals, and people don't have to be painting directly on a wall. A lot of the time whenever I'm doing public murals, the community has input in what the mural is going to be. So there are all these things that you can incorporate into these projects that create buy-in from the community and make them feel part of it. And I think that's really important, because as an artist going into a community and working with community members, I want them to feel like they have some say, and this mural is actually theirs. I've worked with schools, I've worked just in communities in general. I've done murals where people, the mother of a student would be like, please tell me which part my student worked on. And so it's just so important, I think, to give confidence to these folks that might not otherwise get a chance to paint something really big and see the work that they did actually put up on a wall somewhere, in their own community. I really love that work, and I love the feeling that I get when I do it, and I love the way communities react to pieces that they create themselves. And so it's a huge part of, like I said, my art practice. And I think art, it can beautify spaces. It can help you process, and it's important to be creative. And I think in these public art pieces, it kind of encompasses all of these good things that art making can do.